Hello and welcome to the ManCave weekly live stream. I'm your host Liam. I'm joined this week by Andy
Hello.
and Mike.
Yo,
There you go. That was a well scripted intro there. I'm quite happy with that. That didn't look faked or practiced at all. So I think we'll
it
stick
did
with that.
not. No,
I think it was quite good. So what you guys been up to, Mike? What you been up to, man? You're not in a dressing gown today.
I am not now. I am in Heath Ledger honorary gear, and no, I've had a bit of a full-on week last week. Big event in Cambridge for work, and then straight off to Dusseldorf after that, as you may recall. But I'm back now with a cold, and it's good to be home.
Mm. Yeah, it is pretty cold right now. I thought it was quite pimp that you actually came like in the bathrobe onto the live stream, straight from Dusseldorf. Made you look like a real international jet setter. I was quite impressed. And Tony Soprano at the same time.
Priorities, Liam. Priorities. Show must go on.
So cool, excellent. Well, thank you very much for making the effort last week. I know that it was definitely it spiced up the conversation when you came on. Andy, what have you been up to, dude?
I've just been doing a lot of family stuff, hanging around in the West Country and getting some fresh air, getting out of the city, which has been lovely. But yeah, otherwise not too much.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of
Oh,
reading.
lots of reading, lots of comic book reading or novel reading.
Mainly comic book. I've been trying to get through all of Avengers versus X-Men, which has
It's
taken
not
a lot
easy.
of my reading time.
Wow.
Yeah, and that includes all of the tie-ins as well. So that's been quite an effort. I think that's about 100 comics worth.
God, that's
So
like a
yeah,
proper project. That sounds like, doesn't it?
that's on the agenda for a man cave in the future. But I'm about
Yeah.
just over halfway through. So
My
Good
God, I thought
work.
you'd done it.
yeah,
You're still going.
yeah, it's still going. I like it. It's good. Most of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, talk about that in the future.
That's commendable, definitely. So, well, I think I've picked my app now for comic books. So, I've taken it on advice of a few people. So, I will start pretty soon. So, that'll be my contribution to it a little bit more. Right, we're going to jump straight in, guys. I'm going to start with what I've been doing. I haven't been up to much, by the way. I've just I went to see Spam a lot on Saturday, which was good fun.
Oh,
Yeah, that
brilliant.
was done by a local group out here that has got the licensing rights, and yeah, very strange, very surreal, as you imagine. Um, Monty Python is, but good day out, couple of beers, good night out rather, a couple of beers, and yeah, just quids in really. So yeah,
Cool.
right. So I'm gonna shoot straight into my review for the week, or what I've been playing is probably more accurate. I bought a new graphics card for my PC. Okay, I'm now officially a PC gamer. It was the last part of the PC that I needed to actually finish it all off because I built my own PC, and so the graphics card. So I bought a GTX 1060 by Nvidia, and it has opened my eyes to PC gaming. It really has. One of the first games I played, which I'm going to talk about, is Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Ah, Lara.
Ah, there she is,
Cool.
Lara. I know. Fond memories of the digital boobage in in the form of Tomb Raider.
The pixels. Oh my God, the pixels.
Yeah, it is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But the okay, first of all, I've got a comment on like I played the last game. Did you guys play the last game?
I did.
You did. What did you think of it?
Right. I felt like it was. I really enjoyed it. I was really engrossed. I got through it like within a couple of weeks, and I was really. I only managed to play like an hour or two at a time, but I really enjoyed it. Even though I must say that it was a bit of a departure from the actual raiding of tombs. It was more of an action game,
Spot
but I still
on.
really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed,
No,
and I actually quite like the. I like rebooted Lara. I quite like
yeah,
her.
yeah,
Yeah.
spot on. I thought the same as well. Andy, you probably had similar thoughts about. Did you play the previous one?
I did, yeah. I've actually just been recently replaying it, and
Oh,
yeah, it still holds up. Yeah, well,
yeah,
it's because I got it again for the PS4 after I played it on Xbox.
Okay.
And yeah, it was really good. Although love that game.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one. I mean, I like New Lara. I like the reboot element of it. They started it well, and yeah, I liked it. It was far more action based, and I think in the later levels, it kind of like I did really feel as if it really lacked that puzzle solving, kind of vast world, because it was all set on one island and everything that the previous games had. This really doesn't suffer from that. You start off with the most luscious opening kind of sequences. Lots of kind of like it's climbing like Everest or something, or a mountain in the Himalayas or something, with beautiful kind of snow effects and ice effects, and we're actually streaming. We actually play it on streaming. I've got it on PC, but I actually streamed to my Android box downstairs in the main living room, so we can play it in that. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that my new graphics card can do this. And it's just a free app and everything, and it will just stream. So as soon as I told my wife I've got this, she was a massive fan of the original Tomb Raiders. She was like, we've got to play it. So we're going through it together, taking turns, and I think it's working out quite well. She was so taken with the mountain climbing bit at the beginning. She was sweating and like really nervous. She doesn't like heights either, so this is another thing that added to the suspense of it. That is how engaging the graphics were of it.
Oh, wicked.
And I was really impressed with it. And then of course, it kind of branches out into a far more richer world than the previous one did. And you'll be happy to hear there are now tombs. There are now proper tombs for you to explore. Optional tombs, which are great, and mandatory tombs, but it's puzzle solving, and it's great fun puzzle solving, like the original. Almost, you've got the Batman sense.
Yeah.
Like the kind of the Batman vision. She's kind of got that, and my wife pointed this out as well. She said it's kind of too easy to actually see how to solve the puzzles because of that Batman sense. But if you don't use that, if you choose to kind of like stay away from it a little bit more, unless you really get stuck, then it's just as kind of engaging as the previous ones. Because the previous ones, we never used to have Batman vision in previous puzzle games, did we?
Well, that's actually become one of the staples, I think, mainstays of these games these days. Because if you think about it, The Last of Us has got its own Batman vision. Yep. Assassin's Creed has it. Lara Croft has it now. And of course Batman's got it. So you do wonder. You know what I mean? It's a bit.
But yeah, do you think? I mean, this could go off into a tangent of why games are actually designed that. It's almost like they're making games really easy. Yeah. So that people see all the content in the time they've got to see it. I mean, I kind of made the thing of like, right, okay, say with if Mass Effect's combat wasn't easy, would you put 40 hours of game time into it? That kind of thought of just like, is there so much content that you kind of, there's so much more for you to see. Don't, spend 4 hours trying to work out a basic puzzle or something like that.
Yeah, I guess it has got to do with that too.
Which I kind of get.
On the flip side to that, you kind of got Dark Souls, haven't you? Where it is literally the hardest game imaginable.
It is,
and lots of secrets that aren't made very clear to you at all. Yeah. So it's so
swings and roundabouts, really. Yeah, I kind of see things for both, but and you've got to go through a wide genre of players as well. I mean, I have to do all the combat in this because the combat is very Assassin's Creed-y type. Combat, lots of stealth and stuff like the previous game. My wife's not really interested in that. So I mean, she'll do the jumping, puzzle solving, and things like that. But she's not really into that. So that's really good. So I'm on this little adventure now. I'm not that far into it. But so far, I really like it. I'm just so impressed with graphics in some of the games now. They are so rich and involved and smooth as well. I think I've only glitched about 2 or 3 times when she's kind of jumped underneath a stairway and kind of glitched a little bit and has come out of it. I mean, that's kind of inherent with it. But when you kind of look at the thing, you think, oh god, even the tree textures, when we're knocking snow off a tree, I think is really good. I've got it on ultra high on all the settings as well. So I'm good. So I'm really enjoying that. I will give updates on that when I finish it, but I would probably say it's just come out last week on PS4 because it had an Xbox exclusive for a year.
Yeah.
So if you've got a PS4, it was on Xbox and PC, but if you've got a PS4 and you've been dying to play these games, now pick it up. And I think it actually comes with extra DLC on the disc as well, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of DLC on there. PlayStation users have not been able to play this game for a year because of that Xbox exclusive, which I think is just a tragedy, really. Because
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I hope that doesn't damage the game because there's a lot of good things about this game. There's a lot of effort gone forth with it. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm really liking it. So I would definitely recommend that.
Cool.
I'll be sure to get it. Without going off on a tangent of the old Tomb Raiders, which ones do you remember most fondly?
I gotta go with the first one when she comes through the cave passage, and then the T-Rex, and you have to double gun the T-Rex, and then you die about 18 times before you realise you got to run past it. So
I remember that. For me, it was Tomb Raider 3.
Tomb Raider 3.
Tomb Raider 3, simply because it was the first proper PC game I had. A bit until then I had interactive learning games that my parents would want me to get, and so eventually I said, please let me get a proper game, and it was Tomb Raider 3, and I still have very fond memories of that game. My gosh, was it difficult though compared to today's games.
Yeah, I think my wife was saying, oh, it seems easier. I said, yeah, but it's easier because you're not flipping, like the control method is so much better nowadays, and we used to play with joysticks back in the day. Like control pads were quite new back when those games came out.
I think it's Tomb Raider. I think that's the only one that I ever really played, and I think that was on PC, and it wasn't. So keyboard.
The previous games had. This really doesn't suffer from that. You start off with the most luscious opening kind of sequences. Lots of kind of like it's climbing like Everest or a mountain in the Himalayas or something, with beautiful kind of snow effects and ice effects, and we're actually streaming. We actually play it on streaming. I've got it on PC, but I actually stream to my Android box downstairs in the main living room, so we can play it in that. And I was like, I didn't even know that my new graphics card can do this, and it's just a free app and everything, and it will just stream. So as soon as I told my wife I've got this, she was a massive fan of the original Tomb Raiders. She was like, we've got to play it. So we're going through it together, taking in turns, and I think it's working out quite well. She was so taken with the mountain climbing bit at the beginning. She was sweating and like really nervous. She doesn't like heights either. So this is another thing that added to the suspense of it. That is how engaging the graphics were of it.
Oh, wicked.
And I was really impressed with it. And then, of course, it kind of branches out into a far more richer world than the previous one did. And you'll be happy to hear there are now tombs. There are now proper tombs for you to explore. Optional tombs, which are great, and mandatory tombs, but it's puzzle solving, and it's great fun puzzle solving, like the original. Almost, you've got the Batman sense.
Yeah,
like the kind of the Batman vision. She's kind of got that, and my wife pointed this out as well. She said it's kind of too easy to actually see how to solve the puzzles because of that Batman sense. But if you don't use that, if you choose to kind of like stay away from it a little bit more, unless you really get stuck, then it's just as kind of engaging as the previous ones. Because the previous ones, we never used to have Batman vision in previous puzzle games, did we?
Well, that's actually become one of the staples, I think, mainstays of these games these days. Because if you think about it, The Last of Us has got its own Batman vision. Yep. Assassin's Creed has it. Lara Croft has it now. And of course Batman's got it. So you do wonder. You know what I mean? It's a bit.
But yeah, do you think? I mean, this could go off into a tangent of why games are actually designed that. It's almost like they're making games really easy. so that people see all the content in the time they've got to see it. I mean, I kind of made the thing of like, right, okay, say with if Mass Effect's combat wasn't easy, would you put 40 hours of game time into it? You know, that kind of thought of just like, is there so much content that you kind of, you know, there's so much more for you to see. Don't, you know, spend 4 hours trying to work out a basic puzzle or something like that.
Yeah, I guess it has got to do with that too.
Which I kind of get.
On the flip side to that, you kind of got Dark Souls, haven't you, where it is literally the hardest game imaginable.
It is,
you know,
and
lots of secrets that aren't made very clear to you at all.
Yeah.
So it's so
swings and roundabouts, really. Yeah. I kind of see things for both, but and you've got to go through a wide genre of players as well. I mean, I have to do all the combat in this because the combat is very Assassin's Creed-y type.
Yeah.
You know, combat, lots of stealth and stuff, like the previous game.
Right, basically. Because Cyclops is far too often depicted as the boring, you know, one-note leader of the X-Men, when actually, in the past 15 years, actually, thanks to Joss Whedon and Grant Morrison and Brian Michael Bendis, he's actually turned out to be arguably a very the most compelling of the X-Men, even more than Wolverine, I think. And this one instead is young Cyclops. So it's idealist Cyclops who's kind of affected a bit and disenfranchised from the modern day world. And his sense of displacement is really well portrayed in these comics. You know, basically everyone looking at him as the leader he's supposed to be, but he hasn't got a clue of what he's doing in that sense. And Jean Grey instead has very often been depicted as the damsel in distress, and even in the old comics, she's actually condescended to very often. And when she's not being portrayed as that, she's been portrayed as this kind of this trophy that characters like Wolverine and Cyclops pine for. But here, she's actually turned into a bit of a spoiled teenage brat, which she would be if a teenage girl all of a sudden had the power to look into everyone's minds and control what they're doing. So it's actually really interesting what they do with them, I must say.
So what does it do with what are they saying that it does with the original timeline then? I mean, is it untouched?
Well, that's the only thing. There's a lot of allusions to, them being here in the present day is screwing up the timeline as we know it. And yet nothing really changes. This is the only big flaw, I'd say, of the comic, because at least according to my fairly, how can I say, so-and-so understanding of time travel, if you are taken out of the timeline, all of a sudden you're not existing there anymore. So all the present day version of the characters should be either non-existent or completely screwed up, because they'd be taken out. But then that's when you start wrapping your head around. You're like, oh my god, just enjoy it.
Because the thing is that comic books will find a way to get around that, and the logic, they'll have their own logic for it. So is Beast the non-blue haired version? Is he sort of
He's the non-blue haired version.
I've got a screenshot of that up now.
The Beast is the non-blued version. You have Angel, who's the non-apocalypse metal wing version. And you have Iceman, who's still an adorable snowman rather than the, ice-cold stalactite type of character in the modern day version. I've got to be honest, apart from Jean Grey and Cyclops, your characters aren't as well developed as you'd like them to be.
I've got to say, it's great cover art, though. I mean, it's a pretty sexy picture of them too. It looks like, I'll read this comic. It's pretty good cover art.
Yeah, and it just like I said, I can't go into too much detail because you need to have read actually specifically Avengers versus X-Men before reading all new X-Men to really get it. But it's what's probably more interesting is seeing how the past versions of the characters of Cyclops and Jean Grey interact with, like, say, for example, Cyclops, the past version of Cyclops, how he interacts with modern day Cyclops and things like that. Because you actually realize all of a sudden they're two very, very different characters. And you do wonder, it's the same old question that time travel films pose to viewers. And It's like Back to the Future, which I think did it brilliantly. Is if you went back in time and you met, a younger version of your dad, or you went to the future, met an older version of yourself, would you get along with them like that? And I think that's actually quite interesting. I quite like it when they do that.
I'm going to be all over this definitely because like as soon as I finish Avengers vs X-Men, going straight onto this because I've been reading the original X-Men as well a little bit, so it's all I'm very excited to get on with that. Definitely, yeah. Good call, Mike.
Yeah, that is very good. That looks like a good, interesting one. Oh God, see, keep giving me areas. I don't know where to start. I'm starting. I've got to pick something and just go with it. So
there's nowhere to start. I mean, apart from the beginning, there is nowhere to start with comics. Like, and you can't start at the beginning really, because you'll never catch up.
There is one thing here which actually, and I'll be very quick about this, don't want to go ramble on too much, but one of the issues of Marvel Comics is that despite these comics have been around for, since the earliest back we can think of is probably the 60s, at least, the early 60s, is that all the events that happened in the 60s and things like all the characters from these comics haven't aged despite the times move in sync with our modern times. So when they say, oh, these are the X-Men from the past who've come to the present, like as readers, we're like, oh my God, they came all the way from the 60s. But in the comics, they've actually come, they're just 15 or 20 years younger, and that's it.
Okay.
And so there's that's always been an ongoing issue, I think, with Marvel Comics, because people kind of ask, well, what about the time issue? Well, let's don't talk about that. Yeah, just enjoy it. So yeah.
Cool.
Oh well, like comics will find a way.
Exactly, they will.
It's like nature in Jurassic Park.
Indeed.
Cool.
Thank you, Jeff Goldblum.
Thank you very much for that, Mike. Andy.
So last night, it was.
Last night, last night.
Walkhead. So that was an interesting one. I spoke to a few people about it at work today, and it was one to remember definitely. And I'm going to keep this spoiler free, totally.
Got to assure everybody it's spoiler free because I haven't seen it either, and people at work were wanting to talk about it. And
It's. I'll a bit of background to what's going on. Not a whole lot because this whole show's been going on for way too long. But it's the dead have risen. Everybody's on the run trying to find some sort of semblance of civilization. And now what's happened at the end of all of the last series, they've met the survivors and who are led by Negan, who's played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and basically one of them, as far as we know, at the end of the series, has been killed. We don't know who, so it was a cliffhanger ending. Beginning of the episode, we thought we were going to find out straight away. I don't want to spoil it too much. You do find out, but it takes flipping ages.
Oh God! Oh God!
So I know I'm spoiling that a little bit, but I don't think it's too bad. That's the worst thing about the episode, because what's happening is it's all playing into American broadcasting, so they don't want people to switch off as soon as they found out who's died, basically. So it gets stretched out as far as they possibly can, and then there's the final reveal, and it's like, for God's sake, just tell us who. And that's kind of what got to me about it a little bit, because it's really playing down to the viewers and saying, we don't really care about you. We're just in it to get the ratings, to drum that sort of thing up. It's not really fair on that extent. With regards to the rest of the episode, I thought it was pretty good actually. It is shocking. It is violent. Some people would argue a little too violent.
Yeah, there has been an argument. Somebody said that they don't eat when you watch this.
You shouldn't. No. That is an absolute rookie error to ever eat watching this show.
That's something, isn't it, with modern TV, to actually say don't eat if you're going to watch this. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, and seriously, it's good advice because it is a violent episode. I wouldn't say it's too violent, but that's just a personal opinion. For some people, it's going to be too much. I know plenty of people that it's just got to that level now, and they're just not going to watch it anymore. It's too much. And the other point is that it's not just the violence. Some people just found it a bit depressing to watch now. Like there's nothing uplifting about this whatsoever. And I guess it kind of leads on to the other point that you're not really sure where the series is going from here. So they've met a whole new bunch of survivors, a whole new bunch of enemies. So what's going to happen? Is there an end game to all of this? Like, who knows? I would say, like, from what I know from the comics, that there is. But or it's getting towards there, just based on what's happened in the comics. But really, who knows at this point?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about. Sorry, one last thing. I wanted to talk about the portrayal of the new villain, who's played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and I'd say that it's a pretty straight portrayal, and I think it loses something in the translation onto screen. Because in the comics, Negan is sort of he's kind of like your asshole friend who tells dead baby jokes and that kind of thing. He's absolutely twisted in the head, but an absolute psychopath and sociopath at the same time. So he's really, really cruel, but at the same time, when you're reading it on the page, you kind of like him at the same time. Just based on his humor and his mannerisms and the way that it's kind of just drawn. When that gets onto the screen, I think it loses that a bit.
So you've got a kind of a Joker type thing. He's an evil bastard, but you kind of like him for it.
Yeah.
You kind of love to hate a villain. You love to hate.
Yeah, and it might turn out that on the screen you do get that, but I'm only basing it on one episode, really. So,
well, I mean, I've got some screenshots up at the moment. We've got the scene as it left off last season. Now, can I show the next picture? This looks like it's from the graphic novel. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. But I thought that it was so smushed that you wouldn't be able to tell who it was.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Yeah, because somebody, I think it's Azure. Yeah. Well. I can probably tell what. I'm going to turn that over. I can probably tell that was not a woman.
Yeah. Although some of the girls have got pretty short hair. Yeah.
But who knows? So,
who do you think it is, out of interest?
Okay. I'm going to go with my. When I left the last episode, I thought it was going to be Eugene, because the reason I thought this is because they made a lot of effort in kind of showing that he was passing over the bullet thing, and also that he resolved a lot of his issues. Now, I know Red did that as well, but that he kind of resolved a lot of his issues and was comfortable with who he was. And I was like, it's normally when people are comfortable in their own skin that they die. So that's
true. Yeah.
So that's what I'm going for on that one.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to tell you who.
No, I've got to watch it.
But,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But I thought it, and I'm not saying that it isn't. I thought it was going to be Daryl. That's who I thought. All the way up to it.
Well,
that's all I'm saying. So I'm going to leave it on.
Yeah.
We can move on. Mike, who do you think it was going to be? You don't know.
I don't watch it.
Don't. Oh, don't worry. We can't watch everything.
No, we can't.
We can't. Especially because, like I said to Andy earlier, this is another show for me that's got a serious case of the got. I'm calling any show that is so popular that it gets spoiled whether you like it or not. I call it a case of the got.
We've talked about this, haven't we? We talked about this last week about things you didn't finish.
It's a shame because I remember I watched the first season of Walking Dead when it first came out. It was brilliant. I enjoyed that. Looking forward to the second season. By the time it came, I was about to watch it. People said, "Oh, second season's boring." you want to skip that, go to the third one. I was like, well, that's a bit of an odd thing to say. All right, okay. And then I never got around to watching it. But in the meantime, everyone in the office, oh, you'll never guess who got killed last night. I think, and I'm like, oh, for God's sakes,
It is horrible as well.
Well, there's no point in watching it then when you know all of this stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, especially with modern series. I mean, we mentioned this before. It's like I love to just have some allotted time. I mean, Christmas is great. I think I watched like 4 seasons of Game of Thrones one Christmas, and just completely had the time to properly sit there and just binge watch it. And I really enjoy watching series. I hate waiting week to week, but with these big shows now, you find that it's such a minefield because people are going to talk about. You got social media always shooting things up. I mean, it doesn't take much to do it.
Do you know what happens as well, Liam? And it's this happened for me. I won't give away the spoiler in case people still haven't seen it. But then again, if they haven't seen it, I'm not going to blame them given the quality of it. When Batman vs Superman came out, and I hadn't seen the film yet, literally, it's not like I waited weeks to go see it. It was just literally a few days after release date, and I went on social media on a completely unrelated post. I'm not talking about films, something completely random, and then there through the comments, just randomly, oh, so and so happens. Spoiler, like that, just randomly.
That's horrible.
Like that. And the amount of people, criticizing this guy, saying, you're such a, dick for doing that, basically. And they just get this enjoyment out of spoiling stuff randomly, even in places where it's got nothing to do with the topic.
My friend had the premiere of The Walking Dead spoiled for her because she was scrolling through Facebook, and there was a post that came up, and it's like one of these things like, oh, do you remember these snacks from from back in the day? Twinkies, Hershey bars, this, that, the other, and then right at the bottom in the corner, so and so dies.
Oh man,
like bad, such a dickhead thing to do.
That's horrible.
Really.
There should be some sort of banning for that.
There should be a law against it.
It should be. Definitely. It really should.
Yeah, but anyway, well, I'm looking forward to watching it, and it's going to be in there again. It's another series I love to binge watch. I will kind of. I think the first one everybody watches, and then I kind of tail off a little bit, and then. I
think this is the one where you got to watch the first episode.
Yeah.
Like ASAP before it gets spoiled for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get on it straight away. Yeah. Okay, cool. We've talked about this as well. We've watched a couple of trailers this week, haven't we, guys?
We have indeed.
Okay, right. I'm gonna split this in two right now. Okay, so because both people had some really good things. Got to. As it's called. Yeah. I think we'll go to our Gutka expert to explain the Game of Thrones.
No, that's Guardians of
the
Galaxy.
It's not.
My bad. So my bad. Gutka. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. You watched the trailer this week. What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty good. I think it's it was a teaser trailer. You didn't get any plot whatsoever, I don't think. I mean, apart from the people who ultra micro analyze it, there wasn't much to glean from it. You didn't see any of Kurt Russell. I don't think you really saw any of Karen Gillan either. But it was just basically going, hey, the gang's back, everybody's back together. Let's do this. So yeah, I'm keen. I absolutely loved the first one. I've seen it about 50 times. So yeah. I'm really, really excited for the new one.
Yeah, I really, I mean, I thought that the first one was one of the funnest Marvel films I've seen. I think, I mean, you can see that this looks like a kind of like a galactic band album cover. Band. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It looks like a galactic rock band, which is quite interesting. So it's quite a good image there. We've got well, it's a little bit small, that one. I can't really
Oh no!
It's a little bit small, technical.
Well, tell you what, it looks
That
like
looks
a
like a
Guardians of the
band.
Galaxy comic if you saw it far, far away.
If it was projected in VR without VR goggles. And then that one definitely looks like a band. Is there a band theme with all this? Because it seems...
Well, you've seen it. Have you seen the first one?
I've seen the first one, yeah. I really love the first one.
But I mean, it's all to do with the music, isn't
Yeah.
it? And,
Yeah,
and the soundtrack.
yeah,
so
the
that's
mixtape.
where they're coming from for it.
Mixtape. And then I guess the little dude on the shoulder there has got to be Groot.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah, it's Baby Groot.
Baby Groot. Oh, man, he hasn't grown back in like 2 years.
We don't know yet how long it's been since the last one, but I've read very few Guardians of the Galaxy comics, but if they take their cue from one of the more recent comics, I think the moment Groot stops being Baby Groot and all of a sudden becomes fully adult Groot again will be, if they do it like that, like the comic I have in mind, it will be bloody epic. I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay.
That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Because Guardians of the Galaxy was a license that people were shocked that was picked up, if you recall.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was quite obscure.
Hardly anyone's read it, back at the time when it was announced.
Yeah.
And now it's become very mainstream because people have been introduced
absolutely.
to these characters, and also a brilliant effort with the film as well. It's a brilliant all-round film. So I really enjoyed
It's
it.
Marvel Star Wars, effectively, if you think about it. It's a very lazy comparison, but you can see where it comes from, like that.
Yeah, because people don't realize that Thor is actually in the cosmic Marvel world quite closely to it, and that's they kind of marry those two worlds up, sort of. Like I think in Thor 2, you start to understand, right, so they're actually in the cosmic world rather than the ether dimension.
Yeah, it's sort of that because Thor and and Odin and the rest are portrayed as gods, but they're actually just very, very powerful aliens.
Yeah, that's right.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when people, I think they very cleverly tried to melt those two together so people could get an understanding of that it's our mythology, but it's actually aliens.
Yes.
and
basically, it's like if they've been around for thousands of years and they would ever like very old times where anything miraculous you'd explain with with gods and angels and all that, then it makes sense that they would be defined as such.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay, so next trailer, I'm gonna flip my screen over to the man of the moment, Mike. Who is this?
So, Logan, what we're led to believe is going to be the final Wolverine film. I've got to be very honest. So far, I'm talking about film, like big screen Wolverine, not comic book Wolverine. Wolverine's solo adventures have not been particularly that good, I think. Xmen Origins Wolverine was one of the worst, it's definitely the worst X-Men film, I think. And the Wolverine, the one that was set in Japan, was all right, but it was so inconsequential that you thought it's the film equivalent of as well as rather than a must see, in that sense. And so when they announced there's going to be a third solo Wolverine film, I thought whatever. But I've got to be honest, I've been, like most people, blown away by this teaser trailer.
Yes,
because it's really gritty to the point of we used to be promised that we'd get gritty Wolverine standalone films, and they never were. This one looks like it delivers on that front, and there are two reasons why I think we get finally this violent edginess that we have been lacking from the Wolverine films. One of them has definitely got to do with Deadpool's success, because Deadpool was an R-rated film, which, despite the violence and gore and all that, it performed extremely well at the box office. So clearly now the studio boards at Fox realise, oh gosh, we can actually get away with doing a violent Wolverine film. And the other point in its favour, that it looks like it's heavily based, at least aesthetically, on Old Man Logan, which is one of the best Wolverine graphic novels out there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is it's a gutsy move though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, one thing, I've got to be honest, I'm not too on board with Professor Xavier being in this as well. Purely because it feels like he's just there to draw in the crowd of, like the mainstream crowd in case they had trouble believing this was an X-Men film. They're like, oh, don't worry, we do have Patrick Stewart on board like that. But Patrick Stewart is Patrick Stewart. He's brilliant, so I'm sure that his presence will be, well received. But, it's just that thing of saying, oh, we have to add characters that are familiar from the other films in order to draw in an audience. Whereas I always feel like if you've got a brilliant script and a brilliant actor, which you do, playing Wolverine, then then you don't need anything else. You should have faith in the strength of your character and your script.
I think that the script writers have thought about exactly how they're going to get Patrick Stewart involved in it. Like, that he's not just going to be there for some illogical reason other than what you're describing. And yeah, right, admittedly, the other Wolverine films aren't very good examples of that. But I think that this one does look like it's got something going for it, different, that's going to ground it a lot more in, what the Wolverine comic books do so well.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it looks quite promising.
It does, yeah. And you've got X-23 as well, clearly, in it. So the introduction of a brilliant character.
Yeah, I don't know who or what that is, so sorry, man.
I know what I know what X-23 is.
There you go.
I know. It's
Who's X-23, Liam?
It's actually a clone of Wolverine. I've taken from actually Wolverine's degenerated genome, so it's not perfect specimen. And I think because it came out this week that they were talking about it, and they were trying not to drop hints on who it was, but the actress that plays the young girl in Logan actually let in an interview know what the name of the character is, and it does correspond